Yo, what up gamers, Jellofacy here, back with a build guide for PoE 1 this time. This is my league start for 328. I started a week late. I know it's a bit late to post a league starter, but for those of you curious, this is my Holy Hammer build. I'm sitting around 20 million DPS right now with around 50k EHP depending on how I allocate my passive tree, and the recovery on this build is really good because we take Untiring from Juggernaut and we have Corrupted Soul as well. So let's just go through the core of the build and we'll look through our defenses and the most important parts of our passive tree first. Real quick, I'm going to talk about my passive tree right now. If we zoom out, this is my PoB for the Holy Hammers character. And the most important part is that we have stun immunity from Unwavering Stance. We're going to go armor, no evasion on our build. And if you check out my boots over here, we have chance to avoid being shocked. And this gives us 100% just from the boots alone. So with this and Storm Shroud, I'm safely ailment immune as well. This is two most important immunities for slams and juice content in the end game. I don't play builds without ailment immunity, and I don't play slams or like channeling skills without stun immunity as well. Moving on, we can see that I'm using a Glorious Vanity out here. I'm using Corrupted Soul because this gives us life as energy shield, and the main part of this is that we're using the energy shield as like a buffer for the self hit that we're taking from Echoes of Creation. Echoes of Creation is a helmet that gives you a lot of damage extra based on how much war cries are exerting your slams, but it also gives you a big fist hit every time you use a slam. It also gives you non-damage taken bypassing an energy shield. This is a fake downside. In our build, this is considered an upside because we have really good life recovery, and Corrupted Soul alongside with Divine Shield gives us insane ES recovery as well. So having damage bypass our energy shield lets us make use of both recovery together to make sure that we're always topped up on health, even though we're self-hitting for a big chunk every time. Next up, you can see I took a bunch of crit notes, and this is because when we're playing Holy Hammers, we use power charges to enhance our slam with the hammers on the side. Power charge generation is solved through power charge on crit. This is in my 6th link. Power charge on crit and Assassin's Mark is giving me the about 70 to 80% chance to get a power charge on hit. And how are we getting the charges in the first place? That's through the cluster jewel mob mentality. Per power, we're getting 5% to get one random charge type. And because of how much we're auto crying and how much we're manually crying, this means that we're usually topped up on power charges as well. Second of all, at Ascendancy, as with most slam builds, we're playing Berserker. Reason being is that it lets you double the amount of exits you get from your war cries. This is really important because if you get too high attack speed on non-Berserker and you attack too much, you end up running out of exits for your war cries, and then your damage just goes down really fast. So this also helps with the manual war cries that we're using. We're war crying manually Inferno and Rallying Cry because they give us really good buffs. Next, obviously, we're taking Aspect of Carnage. This is just increased damage taken but giving us a lot more damage at the same time. I'm also taking Rage grants us attack speed and increases effect of Rage as well. The degen from this is pretty high. I've got the Untiring node from Forbidden Flesh and Flame. So it doesn't feel as bad, but because of this degen, I'm not running Blood Rage on this build, even though it's about a 10 to 15% DPS increase. Also because we don't really need Blood Rage because we have Frenzy Charge figured out by Mob Mentality as well. Also, I thought I should really go over why I didn't choose any other Ascendancy real quick. So I think the second best for this build would be playing Jug. Playing Jug is good because we have so many endurance charges. This gives us AoE, this gives us damage, and this also gives us additional defenses from endurance charges as well. But I think for a league style scenario, Zerg is probably better because you get a lot more damage, and this node that exerts twice as many attacks is really comfortable to play. This means you can play a higher attack speed weapon and not have like a huge DPS loss from not being exert everything. I know a lot of people really want to like league start or play like Holy Hammers with Templar because it's like a holy skill and shit. Honestly, Inquisitor really fucking sucks, because if I was playing Inquisitor, I'll take Sanctuary and Pious Path, because you don't have Untiring, you can't steal the Forbidden Flame and Flesh to get the recoup notable, right? So Pious Path is our regen, that's fine. And if you look at this node over here, Righteous Providence, honestly, it fucking feels so bad to play this on like a non-attribute stack. This is such worthless like node in that case, because I don't know, you would have maybe 150 int and like 300 strength, so you're getting like 150 increased crit chance. That's kind of fucking terrible for Ascendancy. I mean, I guess it kind of fixes your attribute requirements, but it really sucks. And ignore elemental res, it's kind of fine, good enough for an Ascendancy, but for 4.0, I don't think it feels that good. And you really don't get a lot of like damage or defenses solved by playing Templar. I think Inquisitor is a pretty bad choice for this build. I think Guardian is a better choice than Inquisitor. He has really good defenses from Bastion of Hope. Elemental Relics is a lot of damage as well. But I think this build would look very, very different. I wouldn't know what to steal from Flesh and Flame. And I'm not entirely sure what your setup would look like, considering there's a lot of convert, flat, and whatnot coming from your Elemental Relics. So if you're going Guardian, Holy Hammers, you gotta really like cook up a new build, and it's gonna look entirely different probably. So yeah, that's why I went with Berserker in the end. And for my gear, obviously we're running Echoes of Creation. This is a really strong helmet, it gives you a lot more damage, makes you take a bit of damage in return. Ashes of Creation is really good, gives you quality on your gem here. And if you see the quality for Holy Hammers, it's more damage when you use a power charge. And in this build, we're pretty much always slamming with power charges, so that 30% is giving us 30% quality is giving us about 30% more damage, give and take a little, because we really get a base 20% from the gem quality itself. Next time I'm gonna explain why I'm using the taming on this build, because we're applying alternate ailments with our slam itself. Now this is where it gets kind of complicated, so bear with me if you don't know how Timeless Jewel works, because I know some of you guys are new to PoE 1. I know my channel has a lot of new players watching. So the way it works is that every ailment in PoE has 3 types, right? There's Chill Freeze for cold, there's Ignite for fire, and there's Shock for lightning damage. But in PoE 1, all of these ailments have a alternate version if you have Secrets of Suffering. There's a few other ways to get these ailments. I know experimental bases from Heist are one, but basically if you have Secrets of Suffering, when you crit, you don't deal the normal ailments, instead you deal Scorch for fire damage. Scorch reduces elemental resistance or increases elemental damage taken, can't remember which. Sap reduces the damage the sap target is dealing. And Brittle is increasing the base crit when you're attacking the Brittle target. So how am I getting all these 3 ailments is that I have the Interrogation Small Cluster. This gives me Secrets of Suffering Keystone. I can't inflict Ignite, Chill, Freeze, or Shock. No problem, because in one of my links here, I have the Skitterbots active. Skitterbots do not get affected by my Secrets of Suffering. So anything that's within like a 5 meter, 7 meter radius is about 17% Chill and Shock. And how am I getting enough damage of each type on my Holy Hammers? I'm doing about 50% lightning, 20% cold, and 30% fire. Is that my gloves here? The Eldritch Implicit is converting Fist to fire, while my crafted modifier is converting Fist to cold. And Holy Hammers at base converts 50% of Fist to lightning. Not only that, but my Timeless Jewel, the way it works is that it changes everything in this red circle over here to become kind of like unique notables and unique small passives based on the number on my timeless jewel. In this case, 3915 is giving me these two nodes over here, 10% fizz to fire, 10% fizz to cold. I don't think they're necessary, but I have them anyway. And also on the upside, I'm also getting automaton studies right here, which is basically 4% PDR, which is basically 1 endurance charge. It's a really good node for 1 point. And if you're wondering how I have these allocated without pathing to them, I'm using Possible Escape. It's a jewel that lets you allocate stuff in the passive in the radius of like a keystone. So if you see over here, I'm using it on Avatar on Fire. The reason I chose this node is because, first of all, nothing here really interests me. I'm not bothered by the nodes that I'm using here. It's a bunch of like block nodes. I'm using a eventuality rod, so I don't have block on my staff. So I'm not too concerned about losing the block nodes. I'm not a fan of this notable as well. Not using the Warcry stuff, not using the mace stuff, so I'm fine with losing all of this. I'm also not using accuracy. I'm using hits can't be evaded on my main hand weapon. This means that I don't need soft for accuracy to crit. I'm not using resolute technique either. So what I'm doing right now is that I'm able to allocate anything in here with my Impossible Escape. I'm out of points on this build, but if you're leveling and whatnot and you have some extra points, this is really good for this build. It gives you attack speed and damage. This one as well, 40% increased fizz. There are other combinations of Timeless Jewel that works, but I'm not going to go through it right now because I'll go through it later. I'll teach you guys how to use the Timeless Jewel calculator. So right now I've already explained how I'm getting like a variety of elemental damage in my build. The point of taming is that I have about 3 ailments inflicted on the enemy at all times. I have Brittle, Scorch, Sap, that's already 3. And I have Chill and Shock, that's 5. This is an easy 200 damage, 200 increased elemental damage from the taming itself. That makes it really worth losing a ring for. And because I'm doing critical damage, obviously if you check out my crit chance, I'm pretty much crit cap. I'm taking this node as well, which increases the non-damaging ailments I inflict with crits. This means that the effect of Brittle and Scorch is always maxed out. Sap as well. This in turn is a defensive and offensive bonus to the build. I know the armor and whatnot is really low. Also, I don't have my tincture on. If my tincture is on, I get 35M DPS, but that's kind of something that's really only active all the time when you're bossing. So I guess you could say the build is kind of like 30 million DPS or like 27 or something, but it doesn't really matter. It's more damage than you need for a league starter. I also have like charges that gives you charge on when you're hit by an enemy. This happens really often in maps, happens good enough in bossing depending on who you're fighting. With the flash on, I get like 23,000 armor. It's not a lot, and I would definitely go for more if I could, but I think a lot of it is really getting mitigated by the amount of endurance charges we have. Okay, so I'm gonna go through how to use the Timeless Jewel calculator real quick. So what you want to do first is you want to allocate the nodes that you're interested in pathing to. So example, if you're playing this Impossible Escape, I'm gonna click on the stuff that within reach for like this red circle. So these nodes for sure, this one, and these two. I also could click on something like this as well because it's only 3 points, so I'm clicking on this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove that Timeless Jewel. I'm going to click on Find Timeless Jewel, and you have to specify which one. There's a bunch. In fact, there's a new one called Heroic Tragedy Dispatch. You also have to specify which keystone you're looking for. In this case, Corrupted Soul. And now you need to choose which jewel socket you're going to put it in. It's usually going to refer to a keystone. In this case, it's Eternal Youth, the one next to it. So Eternal Youth. And tick this filter nodes. So it's only going to try and find stuff of interest that's either here, here, or these two. So now this is the part where you specify exactly what you want. All of these up here are the notables. So You definitely want the conversion ones, which are here, flesh to X, you know, flesh to fire, flesh to frost. I'm going to click on these two. These are the most important ones for my build. And as a bonus, I'm just going to put in the top town studies. Point, you could just click on search and it'll print out a bunch of like numbers that have the ones that you want. If you scroll, you can see this one has the conversion nodes, but this one down here has all three that I want. You can see that each of them have like a different node weight and everything. If a jewel doesn't have a 0 on it, it means it has all of your notables that you specified. There's also another way you can like try to find like good or like better jewels. You can let like PoE generate like some fallback nodes of like stuff that increase your DPS a lot, and it'll just throw it in, and then it lets you like rank them based on like how strong it thinks the jewel is. So you can see it's giving me like a really high weight one up here, and reason being is that there's like 2 conversion notables and 1 small notable that like increases my damage. So I can put in like minimum weight and search. Okay, there's nothing that high, and search for a minimum weight of like 120, and you can see it thinks that all of these are really powerful because there's a bunch of like area damage, crit multi, whatnot mixed in there as well. So it's like helping me find small passives as well. At this point, what you do is you just click on the copy trait URL. You click on the top one, you click copy trait URL, go ahead, open the browser, put it in, and it's gonna, you know, spit out all the ones that match your requirements. So yeah, that's how you use the timeless jewel calculator. Pretty simple. You probably want to play around with it, see what combinations work best for your build. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I hope to see you in the next one. And let me know if you enjoyed this build, how I can improve this build guides. And if anything confused you, leave a comment. I'll make sure to respond. Peace.